This video is about Ingenium's 2nd edition role-playing game by Gryphon Games. They asked on Twitter if anybody would like to take a look at their upcoming 2nd edition of their game, and I said, sure, I'll help you out, and I'm going to make a video. Here it is. I got a reviewer's copy of a PDF. It's not 100% complete, but it does have the core mechanics of what Ingenium's 2nd edition is about, and I volunteered to help them out. I am not paid by them. I'm getting nothing really in return other than this reviewer's copy of the PDF, and I'm going to give you my honest opinion about what I think about this new edition of Ingenium, a role-playing game I'd never heard about before. First time reading it over, and there's a lot of stuff in there that I like. It's unique. It's definitely different in the character generation. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a step-by-step of how it kind of is. The main thing to know about it is kind of the catchphrase is 3 words. You use 3 words to make your character. So if I was to make a character, it would be bold, catfolk, paladin. So those 3 words encompass my character. The first word is a trait word, and that is, there's a long list of them. And that word, right off the bat, the first thing you're doing is you're deciding what is your character. Is she lusty? Is he bold? Is he deadly? Is he fierce? And so this word kind of encompasses a role-playing aspect, really, of your character, in my opinion. And what that's going to do is it's going to give you a primary attribute and a secondary attribute. And if I pick fierce, I'm going to get, my primary attribute is going to be physical strength, and my secondary is going to be awareness. Now, those attributes, there's 9 in total. Okay, there's body, there's mind, and spirit, and each one of those has 3 attributes under it. Okay, so like for body, you have dexterity, endurance, physical strength. For mind, you have awareness, intelligence, and willpower. For spirit, you have charisma, magical aptitude, and presence. Okay, so the primary attribute is going to get more points starting off than the other ones, and the secondary is going to get a little bit less than the primary. So that's, you've already got that down pat. There's your, you pick your, and it's a nice list, and it's fun to look through and to say, okay, I'm gonna get this primary stat, and I'm gonna get this secondary stat. The second word is the race. Now, if I was to really single out one thing I really like about Ingenium right off the bat, whenever you look at the book, and my players also thought the same way whenever they looked through it, they really love the races. It has your typical human, dwarf, elf, halfling. Okay, there's 11 races total in the core book. And there's some unique ones that I think really jump out at you. You'll want to play and you'll want to do something different. But they're not extremely bizarre or crazy. It's hard to wrap your mind around them. You've got catfolk. You've got dryad. And each one of these races is going to give you a bonus to an attribute, and it's going to give you their own racial talent. Like catfolk have, they've got feral claws. They can do damage. You know, they got like bladed melee weapons with their claws. There's a dwarf, of course, like I mentioned. I'll be looking at the PDF every once in a while. That's what I'm looking at. Elf. We all know what an elf is. Gargoyle. And there's unique. That's unique right there. That really stood out to a lot of players, too. They've got a lot better endurance, and they got stone skin. They can take a little bit more damage. Halfling. We all like halflings. Most of us usually do. There's a half-wolf. So that's cool. Again, they're good at dexterity, and they've got an ability called Way of the Forest. So they each one are going to have this racial talent. Okay, you got human, and they get a lot more talents than the other races. Myconid. Now that is a unique one right there, and they're not a big mushroom critter. It's they're a being that lives in the forest. They may have funguses and mushrooms and stuff growing off of them, but they got +1 intelligence. They live possibly forever, and they're a very unique character. Of all the races, that one really stood out. It's a little bit of a new take on them, and I think they're awesome. So I really like them. Satyr, always a fun kind of comical type race. They're good at storytelling. They got high charisma. Cool. Winged folk. That's the last one. The winged folk obviously can fly. They can't hover, but they can fly around. They have a high presence, and they are winged. They kind of like winged humans, if you wish. So right there, you've got 2 words. I'll use the catfolk, for instance. You've got bold catfolk, and then you got paladin. And that's when the next section you're going to come to your profession. Now your profession There's 15 of them total. That's a pretty good number. Now, in saying that, I don't believe that they give you, it's not a huge direction with that you're going to be doing a lot of the stuff that's based on your profession. But what it will do is, it's going to give you another bonus to an attribute, and then it's going to give you a series of talents. It's a talent pool. So like right here, Assassin gets Shadow. And when you go to these talents, there's a big list in the book. The talent Shadow is going to give you a bunch of other talents that are within that pool. And that's pretty cool. It's a bunch of choices for combat, magic using, a whole bunch of different stuff. And so if you pick Assassin, you get your hit dice, and you're going to get a talent to itself. They get a talent called Death Blow. I like the name of that. And then that starting talent pool is really going to open up your selection of talents, that you get all the ones that are in Shadow. And so that's your 3 words. Okay, so you've got your 3 words. I'm going to list off, what professions are in the game, because I think there's some pretty cool ones. Assassin, Bard, Battle Medic, Beast Tamer, pretty cool. Blood Mage, he does magic a little differently. Can do it a little different. Dragoon, Inquisitor, Merchant, Paladin, Priest, Ranger, Soldier, Templar, Warlock, and Wizard. Now, that's a good bit. So you've got the 3 words, and what you're going to do is you're going to get a certain amount of normal general talents to choose from. Weapon and armor talents, and there's a huge section, and they're kind of like feats, if you wish, if you're playing a different type of game, but they really help you craft your character. And some of them are based on a role-playing, more of a role-playing than actual rolling dice. So that's cool that there are options like that for those players that want to embrace a more role-playing-esque character than just one that gives them a better stat or skill or something. You're going to get a lot of talents as you level up in this game. You're going to get a bunch of talents. Your attributes are going to go up. Your cantrips are going to go up. Your sorcery is going to go up. You're just going to increase all these things. You're going to get a bunch of talents. So every level up, or almost every level up, you're going to get some choices to make on how to craft your character. Okay. Huge list of talent pools. The talent pools are like Divine. It's going to give you, right here it's got 4 different other talents that when you get the Divine talent pool. Healing Touch, Cure Poison, Cure Disease, Sanctify. So right there you've got options to do, multiple actions, multiple things you can do. Some of them combat, healing. The Paladin gets Force, the Force talent pool. It gives you Harden, Slam, Cripple, and Whirlwind. Obviously making multiple attacks. So there's a huge section on them, and then they have some that are based off of racial talents that you can only choose by your race. So that's cool. It gives you, some unique ones for picking the race again. And from what I've seen, the book just goes straight along with that, with the progression of making your character. Then there's some basic general talents that kind of like, anyone can really pick from what type of armors you have, cultural talents. There's some good choices there. And then again, those racial talents show up. Some of those are very strong. But I want to let you know that there's some talents that you need to really read and see. They can be quite, they can give you a lot of power, but there's a price to pay for them. I'm looking at you, I think this one called Mana Blood. It's a doozy, but it's very cool. And it actually led to some very funny things that happen when we play this game. I'll let you read it if you see the book, but it needs to say it gives you a lot of power, but it can kill you. And that's what it did to a player, the first roll he made. So, and then you have advanced general talents, and all the advanced talents you're gonna be able to get those later on as you level up, and they're stronger talents, and they're gonna make your character a little bit bigger. Now, the second edition adds really the weapons and armor is a new way of doing it in the second edition, as well as your sorceries. And that's what the second edition really stands out with. So you're going to use the 3 words again for your weapons and armor. Now my players, and I particularly, I really like this, because normally you just say, I'm going to use a longsword. Well, now you got to kind of craft your own longsword, or craft whatever weapon you're using. And each 3 of those words are going to affect what weapon you have. Okay, so the first word is going to be what class of weapon. It's going to be light, medium, or heavy. and that's going to affect how fast the weapon is, how fast you are with initiative. It's also going to tell how much damage it does. Like a light weapon is going to be D6, medium weapon is going to be D8, and a heavy weapon is going to be D10. Of course, the heavy weapon is going to be slower. So right there, you've already got two main components of what your weapon is: speed of it and how much damage it does. And then the second part is probably the coolest part. That's where you take the materials. Now, you choose what it's made out of, and those are going to have different factors in either what damage you do or other things that are in the game. Your examples here are, the ones you can choose from are ironwood, copper, bronze, iron, steel, cold steel, and wormbone. So right off the bat, you're already kind of crafting it, and I would tell you, as a, if you're running this, if I'm running this, I'm telling my players, give this weapon a name. Go ahead and name this weapon. Give a story to this weapon. If it's made out of wormbone, where'd you find that wormbone? Where was that? Was that handed down or something? So that right there, it almost kind of creates a little bit of a character out of your weapon, okay? And the weapons are going to do different things, such as bronze is going to help you do something called tap checks better. And that's when you're pulling out magic from around you to see the magic and to use it to cast a spell. Wormbone is very good against demons. Cold steel is very good against undead. So you have to make kind of a choice about kind of where I want my weapon made out of. Some of them also, when you play the game later on, their cost is going to be a lot more. If you were to buy another weapon, there's a cost multiplier by what type of material it's made out of. So after that, you're going to choose what type it is, and that's going to be, is it an axe? Is it a bow? Is it a club? This is going to be your general what item it is, and those are going to be different too. A flail is going to be very good against someone who's on the defensive. A mace is going to ignore a lot of plate mail armor, the soak value of the armor. So each one of the types is going to do something. Just to let you know, a sword, very bluntly, is going to give you +1 bonus to hit. So you've got a lot of choices on each step of this. And never did I think, when they made their characters, whenever I was kind of making my own character, that any of this bogged down or was hard to understand, really. And it was a lot of just kind of choices to make. Now, the last one is the armor. Your armor is going to be exactly the same, light, medium, or heavy. And those are going to change what your two stats are, evasion and soak. Now, evasion is going to be how hard it is to hit you, and soak is going to be how much punishment your armor can take. So, obviously, let's take a heavy plate mail. It's going to have a lower evasion. It's easy to hit some dude that's just a big metal, tank sitting out there. But it's going to be able to soak up a lot of damage. And this game has a mechanic kind of like other fantasy games where it doesn't matter how much damage you do, if it gets soaked up, you're still going to take 1 point. You're going to take 1 point of damage. So things like goblins and stuff attacking someone with plate mail, they're going to whittle it down. Even if it's just doing 1 point of damage, it's just going to start whittling that character down. They have to beat the soak value of it. And there's a lot of talents that change evasion, change soak. You can get better at certain types of armors with certain talents to help evasion and soak with your armors. And there's multiple slots too. There's body, head, and there's a shield slot too. So once you've picked those, light, medium, and heavy, you're going to go to your, again, what's it made out of? What's the material? You've got leather, ironwood, copper, bronze, iron, steel, cold steel, wormbone. And again, they're going to do different things for you. Some will be better versus soaking, some will be better versus arrows, some will be better versus like crushing attacks from maces and stuff like that. So again, that's another thing that you can kind of say, where did I get these items from, and kind of give them a backstory. From there, you're going to have your magic section. You get cantrips, and those are just kind of small little spells. But again, here we go with this create your own spell with these things called sorceries. Now these are really neat. And you have, again, you have a lot of options and choices that you can kind of personalize your own spell. Instead of just looking through a spell book and saying, this is the spell I want, lightning bolt, I can create my own lightning bolt. Instead of it being an actual, like a bolt of lightning, maybe it comes out differently. Maybe it's a maybe it's a burst of lightning. Maybe it's a cone of lightning. So you're going to have, again, 3 words. You can have descriptors. And now what they do is they're going to be like, so options are like blinding, dazing, exploding, lingering, rooting, slowing. And again, it's that first word's going to kind of give you that kind of visual feel of kind of what it does to you. And you're going to choose that. and then you're going to choose what type it is. Is it a bolt? Is it a burst? Is it a ray? Is it a cone? And then the third word is going to be what's it kind of, it's its focus. What is it made out of? Is it air, darkness, earth, fire, life, sand? And the thing is, you can actually add, so let's say we'll make a spell right now. It'll be the blinding, and this is just real off the top, blinding burst of fire. Okay? So blinding has a difficulty modifier, burst has a difficulty modifier, and fire has a difficulty modifier. I can add multiple words to the same spell. So if I've got, let's say, we'll go to that one, blinding, it's got its modifier. I think I said bolt. It's got its modifier. And then let's do 2 fires, okay? And what that's going to do is it's going to do more damage. It's going to up the damage of it. And if we were to up the bolt, it gets the range longer. But every time you add the same word, you're going to keep adding that difficulty modifier in order for you to get off with the spell. If you have blinding, it's going to give more duration of blindness. So you can really create your own spell with this. And of course what that's going to do is it's going to make you choose between either really strong spells that are really hard to get off, or easier spells, sorceries I should say, that you'll be able to get off a lot easier. And they might not be as strong though. So again, the choice is yours. Now, that is, in essence, they also have these things called rituals or bigger spells as well. The book also has, which is new to the second edition, is a bit of the setting. I believe it's called Iridia. I hope I'm saying that right, guys. But and it's a GM section of what's kind of going on with the world. Now, it's got monsters as well, and it's got obviously how the game works. Now, the game works on a single D10 to do your actions. You're going to add in your attributes, and you're going to try to beat a target number. That's pretty basic. You know, that's a pretty basic game that anybody can get their hand around. Now, I played this with some players, and the first thing I want to say is that combat was fast. It was really fast. Because what you're doing is you're taking your D10, you're rolling it, you're looking against their evasion. If it's better than their evasion, you've hit them. Roll your damage. If it's higher than their soak, then they take the damage of the difference. And if it's not higher than their soak, they're at least going to take 1 point of damage. That's the bane. You got initiative, you got that, and so it's fast. That's one thing I will say. It's very quick. And the players, they enjoyed it. It was easy to tell them how to play the game. And there wasn't a lot of dice that they had to manage. And one thing about it is that this has an open-ended system. Any die that you roll, if it gets that the max number on the die, it's going to explode, open-ended. You can keep rolling it, okay, and adding to it. And that can make some stuff very strong. And that's the type of epic gaming, I guess, that this game really was trying to embrace. You can do tons of damage. So you never know when it's going to explode, and when all of a sudden a simple spell is going to really ramp up and really murder something. D6 is going to really blow. You have something that does 3d6. You can have 2 6s there, and woof, you've just really nuked something. So that could be, and it is a D10. Now this is going to be the part of the overview of this where I'm going to tell you really my thoughts about playing it, the book, and again, I want to make sure you guys understand. I don't have any of the art. The Kickstarter's out there. I'll have a link to it at the bottom. And it's, the Kickstarter main thing is to get the art in the book. And I'll tell you, not to try to push it, but it's difficult to see a lot of this stuff without art. I want to see what these races look like. I want to see some cool shots of them, the different lands, and how, you get a good picture of what these guys are trying to imagine for you in this system this system and setting that they've made, to be able to see what a catfoot looks like, to see what a gargoyle looks like walking down the town, down a town, maybe down in a tavern or something like that. Just art helps books, and this is probably one of the first times I've seen a book, because I've got the reviewer's copy where I don't have any real art to go along with it. So, needless to say, all I say about the Kickstarter is, it'd be nice to see what these things look like, should the art be there. So, my thoughts of Ingenium is this. I think that the character generation is spot-on fun. It's unique. You have a lot of choice in making your character. Not only the character, but the weapons, the armor, and the sorceries. And you you've got just some unique choices to make as well. The system is not very complex, I don't believe. I don't think anybody's going to really, have a hard time understanding how it works. And a lot of the issues that I came up with the system, a lot of those were due to the fact that it's just the reviewer's copy, and a lot of stuff hasn't been edited and finalized in it yet. But it is a D10, a single D10 now. If you have to roll a 1 on a D10, you've got to, that's a 1 in 10 chance. A lot of people don't like those odds. There's no kicker die to go with it or anything like that. And so you could have some real fluctuations with the D10. But that's where your attribute's going to be there to kind of push it forward, and get you that for you to beat that difficulty number. Making the sorceries is awesome. That's just cool. And the more greedy you get on how powerful the spell, good luck casting it. It's going to be up there. I ran into some issues in the book. Again, I believe it's just from the reviewer's copy, and they were very receptive to some of my feedback about it. And I look forward to some of those changes and additions. The monster section, it's very serviceable. I want as many unique creatures as possible whenever I'm looking at a new setting to some degree. And I think that's going to be a section of the book that I really look for in the actual book to be kind of changed. They had a lot of traditional monsters in it, which is something that's fine, and it's something that everybody can visualize because we know what it is. But again, if you don't have that art to go along with a crazy, weird monster, it kind of hurts the creature a little bit for players to visualize what it is. And then at the end of the book is the GM section. Now this is the geography of the land, the people, what they're like, their customs, what their clothing's like, some background on them. And I know they're coming out with setting books down the road, and I'm going to say that this book is going to give you a very brief, bare-bones version of what the setting is. From everything I've seen, the lands are cool, some of the factions and stuff are very cool, it's very great. There's just not a ton of it, and I know those are going to be coming out in the settings book, so that's something you should definitely know should you look into Ingenium 2nd edition. That stuff's going to be there, it's just going to be in another book, but they're definitely going to give you enough to work with the setting. So overall, I liked playing it, I liked running it, I thought it was very easy to run. Again, with a D10 and just damage dice, and you're just adding up attributes and beating a difficulty number, this is not a rules-heavy game whatsoever. The hardest choices are going to be with your character, but I tell you what, you're going to have players that are going to be like, I really want to play a gargoyle, but I also want to play one of these winged folk. So they're going to enjoy making characters. They're going to enjoy really kind of going through that system, seeing, tweaking, and really picking out stuff to make the character that they want. Make the armor they want, make the weapon they want, make the sorcery they want. And I think that's pretty unique in a game. That's the strongest thing with Ingenium, in my opinion, is that 3-word system. All the players were very receptive to it, and they really like being able to create the character that they wanted to. And they weren't spoon-fed what that character gets. Now, they get a couple things for when they choose those words, but really they then get to choose these talents to help really craft and create the character much differently than just those 3 words. So, yeah, I'm hoping that the Kickstarter, I'd like to see some of this art. Again, I'm not being, I'm just trying to help out the community, help out role-playing games in general, and help out people that have a passion to put out products and games for us to have a lot of fun with. And I wish these guys a lot of luck. And if I was to say, it's got some issues that I think people are always going to find, and I'm never one to really sit there and say this is terrible. There's some stuff that you could have issue with, I believe, in this game. Some stuff maybe that might be omitted for some players, not everyone, or something the way that a mechanic works they may not really jive with. But really, that character generation is a blast. You can make a dwarf that is a certain way. You can make this guy that's a certain way. The Dryad. They've got their own cool ability. Very unique character standing out. But then again, seeing them in these different lands is going to be unique and different in the art. And so I look forward to seeing the art. I look forward to seeing more from it. I look forward to a bigger setting section that really fleshes out what these lands look like, what they're like, what's going on with them. And that's probably one of the more difficult sections to do, I think, in a role-playing book, is to really nail that setting. And while I don't think the main core book really does, it does give you a good taste. It does give you something to work with. It gives you some gods to mess with as well, that are deities that are in this setting. And I think a lot of the books coming out will really flesh that stuff out. So again, 3 Words Rocks. That's highly recommended by me. And I hope this has been helpful for whoever is looking into Ingenium. That being said, good luck to those guys, Silver Gryphon Games, and I'll have all the links at the bottom to not only their website, but to the Kickstarter as well, if this video's been helpful in making you take that plunge and doing a pledge or so. Thanks, guys.